Are you looking for resources to inspire your primary pupils to read and write poetry? Well, on today's resource review, we're examining 3 resources that might fit the bill. They are a website of lesson plans, an alphabet of poets, and a dictionary of rhyming words and phrases. Recommending today's resources, we have Louise Dollings. Louise is Literacy Coordinator at Goldstone Primary School in Hove, East Sussex. On the panel today, we have Fiona McCorkadale. Fiona is Assistant Head Teacher of St Luke's C of E Primary School in the London Borough of Islington. And on the panel also we have Peter Taylor. Peter is Head Teacher of Worth Primary School in Poynton, Cheshire. And our resource investigator, Matthew Tosh, is out and about seeing how the resources go down in the classroom. Well, Louise, let's talk about your first recommendation for us today. It's a website and it's called primaryresources.co.uk. Tell us about this resource.
This is just a very versatile, useful resource for all areas of poetry. It's very well organised so that you can find the particular areas of focus that you need quickly. The resources are also coded so that you can see what year group they're aimed at or key stage. So it's just a very useful resource to have for poetry teaching.
And so this is very much a teacher resource?
Yes, although I have also used it with children independently, given the initial input, and then they've gone away and had a go at this themselves.
And it's a free resource?
Absolutely, which makes it all the better.
Yeah. OK, thanks very much. Well, now let's go over to Matthew. He's visited Lowther Primary School in Barnes in South East London to see how this resource fares in the classroom.
Primaryresources.co.uk gives you free access to a variety of resources that you can use in the classroom. They can be lesson plans or activity ideas. Now I want to navigate through to poetry, so we'll go through to English. Now you'll notice as I've gone through the pages, each screen is split up into sub-menus, so it's easy to navigate through. And here are our resources. Now next to each one you can see some symbols. That tells you what year group it relates to, but also what the type of resource is. Well, let's have a quick look at some of the resources. This one here, the images of insects, gives lots of different poems enriched with pictures. So that can be quite colourful to use on a board. Well, I want to look at the metaphor, simile and onomatopoeia section because there was something I found here. Again, lots of descriptions, images and colourful things that you can use on a whiteboard. Well, now let's go and see James Dodman and his Year 5 poets to see what they make of the website.
Today we're going to be looking at a poem called 11 English Footballers. First thing we're going to do though, we're going to start off by trying to make words that rhyme with the words on the board.
Can you tell us what you've been doing in the lesson today?
Yeah, we were doing some work to do with poetry and mainly trying to find some rhyme in our poetry to make it as enjoyable as possible with the class.
How easy do you find it to navigate through the website?
Yeah, I mean, I've used it before actually. It's a useful website and yeah, I think it's very easy to navigate. More often than not, there will be something on the subject that you're after.
This time we've had 10 and men, 9 and line. What do we need to rhyme with next time? What do we need to rhyme with?
So do you see it as a time-saving device?
I think it can be used as a time-saving device, but I also think that it's a it's a good place to start. Get some ideas from if you're just you're starting a new topic that maybe you don't know so much about, and just to give you some ideas that you can then change yourself to adapt. And there's lots of good stuff on there, but I do think there's stuff on there that I wouldn't use as well.
So yeah, overall impressions of the website.
Yeah, very good. I think there's lots and lots of good information on there. Just need to be careful that you use it and adapt it to your own class.
Thanks, James. Well, you might need to adapt it. Let's go back to the studio.
Louise, what would you say to that point that the teacher made, that quite often some of the resources on the website have to be adapted for use in class?
I think that's a fair comment. As with any general resource like this, you have to make sure it's appropriate for the children in your class at any given time. There are some very good ideas on there that you can take and adapt quite easily.
OK. Fiona, what do you make of this resource?
There are a nice range of different kinds of resources. There's things that you can print off and give to children, flip chart activities, PowerPoint presentations, the way it's organised is very easy to use. The last thing you want to be doing is having to trawl through lots of resources, whereas the little icons show if it's going to be appropriate for your age group and the type of document it is. I do think you do have to be evaluative when you look at it, as you would with any resource. It varies in quality, so you wouldn't just assume that because something is relevant to what you want to do, it's going to be appropriate. So.
Okay. Peter, what do you make of this website?
Even though the website is facilitated by a well-respected company, I think it's a website by teachers, for teachers. And in that, there's some superb, really specific resources. However, there's just the odd error now and again. So like many things on the internet, you have to really check your sources carefully. But certainly for somebody starting a new topic, or a teacher who is exploring a new theme, or a new teacher or an NQT, it's a really great resource.
Do you think that is a problem, Louise, that there might be variable quality? I mean, it's a free resource, it's out there on the web. Is everything going to be good?
I think, unfortunately not. You know, I think that comes with, comes alongside the fact that it's a free resource. And as we said earlier, you just need to be a bit thorough and check that it's appropriate.
Okay, well now let's move on to Louise's second choice of resource for us today, and it's called The Works 5. Explain this to us, Louise.
This really just does exactly what it says on the tin. It has poetry for all aspects of the literacy hour. Again, you don't have to trawl through books and other resources trying to find examples for the poetry unit that you're on. This particular one is arranged alphabetically with poets. Also, there's a range of poetry in there, so you're not then presenting the children with a particular type. But if you want to, then you can work that way with it also. But
essentially, it's one poem per poet.
Yes.
In alphabetical order, according to their surname.
Yes.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. Now let's go back to Matthew. He's visited Glebe First and Middle School, which is in Middlesex in Harrow, to see how the Works 5 fared in the classroom.
The Works 5 is a collection of 260 poems from 260 poets. So the likes of Shakespeare, Wordsworth and Tennyson are in here, as well as some lesser-known contributors. And there's also some contributions from overseas. There are all kinds of poems in the book. There's solemn, adult, children and even happy ones. Now we're going over now to see Kath Brown and her class to see how they get on with the book.
Breathing darkness, a gnarled, insistent finger silently unfurls to point to someone. It is chosen. You.
Kath, can you talk me through how you've been using the book today?
I chose the poem The Door from the Works 5, and we used images from the internet and looked at a range of doors and what might be through those doors, and the children chose the door to write about and did it in the style of the poem that we'd read together at the beginning of the lesson.
What did I do when I got to those ellipsis marks?
I like that there's loads of different poems. I think it's a very good book for all the topics, all the subject areas.
Now the poems are categorised by author as opposed to writing style. Do you feel this is a limitation?
It was a bit of a limitation because you had to know who the poet was that you wanted. Otherwise, you wouldn't know what to choose, but it was easy to use because I knew who I wanted.
How well does it fit into the curriculum?
It fits in quite well because it doesn't matter whether you're doing literacy, maths, science, you can always find a poem that fits in with those subject areas and read something just as a starting point.
Same door that Penny described, but how they saw it was completely different.
I think doing it by author is a bit difficult. So if they did it by poem or by topic area, I think one of the works does that by subject area, and I found that easier to use.
So, would you be tempted to use it again?
Definitely. It was an excellent resource that I enjoyed using, the children really enjoyed it, and it made them enthusiastic about poetry. And that's what I want to encourage in the class.
Thank you very much, Kath. And now, let's go back to Hermione.
Well, Louise, the teacher really liked the Works 5, but did mention this problem with the way it's laid out. It's quite hard to search and find what you're looking for. Is that a bit of a limitation?
I think it can be. I think if you've taught a particular poetry unit for you know, a couple of years, then you begin to know, oh, I need that poet for that particular day. So in that respect, it's still useful. As was mentioned, there's another book in this series that does organise by subject. So.
Right, so that could be used as
Absolutely.
well. Okay, well, let's see what the panel think. Peter, what did you make of the Works 5?
I agree. I really couldn't see why it was in alphabetical order. I didn't quite understand that. And as somebody who's taught poetry for many years, I tend to go to my own poets and my own books, to be honest. And also, something that's advertised as being useful to Literacy Hour nearly always puts me off, actually.
Oh, no.
Poets and the Literacy Hour doesn't quite seem to go together. Visually a bit flat as well. I didn't necessarily want to pick it up, but there's some great poets in there and some very, very good poems. So as an easily accessible resource, it's probably pretty good. But I think for real quality, I'd like to go and find my own poets.
Okay. Fiona, what do you think?
There are a huge range of poems in there, and I agree with the point about the way it's been organised. I think that they could have the alphabetical index in it, so that if you have a particular poem that's been recommended, you can find it easily. But even just another couple of pages saying these are the types of poem, these are the pages that they're on, or these are the different topics that the poems are on. I would find it a little bit daunting, I think, especially if I wasn't familiar with poetry, to just pick up such a dense book and think, oh, where to start?
Yeah.
Right. Okay, well, thank you all very much. Time now to move on to Louise's third choice of resource for us today. And it is a rhyming and spelling dictionary from Blacks. Louise, talk us through this resource and why you like it.
This is a real favourite of mine. It really takes away the fear factor for the children. I think it's colourful, it's bright, they like picking it up, and once they're shown how it works, they're able to use this independently in no time at all. The first couple of pages signpost for you the different types of poetry that are to be taught and give you a few tips.
Presumably this isn't the only rhyming and spelling dictionary out there on the market. Why this one in particular?
I think it's just very easy for the children to use. They are freed up, if you like, by using this, particularly at the beginning of a topic. I personally find poetry quite difficult to teach, and I think the children sometimes are a bit daunted by the prospect of writing their own poem. And this is just a really nice way of easing them into it and, you know, making them think, oh, actually, I can do this. I can.
Thank you. Well, Fiona, what do you like or dislike about this particular one?
It's a very child-friendly dictionary. It's really colourful. There's kind of pictures in it. There's also a huge amount of words and rhymes in it. We do have some rhyming dictionaries in our school at the moment, but these are of a higher quality, so I will be replacing them with that.
What about you, Peter?
I second that. I think this is great. It's visually beautiful. You want to pick it up. It's full of words. It's well organised. The signposting at the beginning is good as well. And I think we definitely need to have more of these back at base. And the staff I've shown this to very much liked it as well. So I think this is a bit of a hit, this one.
OK, well, thank you all so much. That's all we've got time for today. But just to recap, the three resources that we've looked at are primaryresources.co.uk website produced by Gareth Pitchford, The Works 5 published by Macmillan Children's Books, and Black's Rhyming and Spelling Dictionary published by A&C Black Publishers Limited. To find out more about the resources that we've featured today, you can go to our website. It's teachers.tv/resource review, or if you want to, email us resourcereview@teachers.tv. Big thank you to our panel today, to Louise, to Fiona and to Peter. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time on Resource Review. Bye-bye.